So today we have a continuation of the Dream Yoga teachings. Tomorrow there will be a pop-up. A pop-up is a teaching that depends on circumstances or things I have seen in a dream that tells me that it is needed, or things I have noticed from my emails that it is needed. So I am awaiting some sampa, which should arrive this afternoon probably. If it arises, then tomorrow I will teach on how to set up an altar and how to make tormas. If I don't get my sampa, I can't make tormas for you. I can't show you how to do that. So it's waiting on that. We'll still have a teaching if that doesn't arrive. It will simply be a question and answer. Today we're going to do a lot of dealing with your questions, so start putting them up there now as we begin. But stay on the topic of dream yoga. I'm not doing questions today that aren't on topic. A lot of you have been asking questions about what this dream or that dream means. Since most dreams are you talking to yourself in dreamtime symbols, you have a better chance of figuring that out than I do, since you know your own symbolism better than I do. It won't necessarily be exactly the same symbols as me. So put up your questions, because I think I want to do that first. I want to see where you are while we invoke the lineage. Chuku kundu zongpo gompo ye dorji sempa garab dorji dang shire singe bardu shin labdi dedang mabzon tatatu sum chi zog chen jupe lama la solwa de Ergin pema junela solua de Dorji chang chitilo narudang Marpa mila gompo tsatsapa Na pupadang palden drupa suk Kargulama namla solua de O Chen Lama Namla Solua Deb Dru Chen Lama Namla Solua Deb Shat Chen Lama Namla Solua Deb Yung Trung Dang Yendu Lama Namla Solua Deb Pakondu Shong Dang Yerme Pa Gungarab Dorji Jintrak Pa Jetidang Nisume Pai Alamanam chetenter chong. Let's start with what questions have arisen, if any.
The first question is, I'm having lots of dreams that I'm remembering since the last teaching. How do I deal with waking after the initial dreams when they wake me and I cannot get back to sleep? Also, is there a way to encourage dreams of clarity?
There is. Working with these syllables, the hung, here, and there are other syllables in other chakras, but I'm not sure there. You can have accidents if your chakras aren't very clear. So I'm not sure about teaching that to people who have not completed the inner body Rushen. I think the rest of them I might teach in a different retreat form, just because of the amount of trouble you can get into working with the energies of the other chakras if you haven't got them fairly cleaned out first. That's why the 9 breaths are so important. They clean out the channels. If you have gunk in a particular chakra, it will interfere in your dream yoga. Your best bet for dreams of clarity are to work with the, not the hung, I'm sorry, the ah. The ah in the throat chakra. The clear, transparent ah. The white ah surrounded by rainbow light. In Tibetan symbolism, white and transparent are almost interchangeable in some ways of explanation. So the ah, A-H, ah. And in Tibetan there is often drawn with a little H on the bottom of it. Not always, sometimes it's just drawn as the ah. In the rainbow-colored light is very similar to the bright red light of the chakra with the transparent ah. White, transparent, very much the same. Work with that for dreams of clarity. Work with it strongly. If you are woken from the dreams in the middle of the night and can't get back to sleep, get up and have a glass of hot milk or some peanut butter. Surprisingly, peanut butter works well for this, on whatever, carbs. What other has the right things? Yeah, warm milk, not chocolate milk, that's got caffeine. Cambric tea if you prefer. Cambric tea is a cup of tea made without tea, just the milk and the sweetener. Served to small children in England. Try these 2 things to develop clarity and pay attention to what auxiliary practices you are doing during the day. Certain ones, such as Trekja, Yidam, will assist you in developing clarity. Next.
You explained traveling to the pure Dakini land and how that takes place. Would you be able to explain more about the importance of meeting Dakinis in one's dreams?
Dakinis are symbols of the Dharmata. Thinking while meditating, meditating while thinking, not separating. After you have gone through the stage in Mahamudra of separating the stillness from the moving, and have done Trultra Naljur, yoga of dancing stillness, and seeing that they come together again, that the separation was not real, although you need to pass through the stage of separating. Otherwise you get confused about what is moving and what is stillness, and you start taking bits of the moving as stillness if they're profound. And that doesn't work. So the Dakinis are messengers. They can take you to places. Frequently, Tibetans people do not feel that they can go to these places themselves. So the Dakinis take them there. Because it is a symbol in the universal unconsciousness of clarity, it brings forth clarity. There are other ways of getting to remarkable places other than Dakinis. You can walk there. There's a trick to walking to a Pure Land. You have to first believe you can. And then holding the image of where you are going clearly within the dream, you begin walking without consciously choosing the turns and twists. Simply with your visualization of the goal held clearly, you can frequently bring yourself forth within the dream without waking yourself up to a Nay or a Pure Land or some other place. However, the Dakinis are not inside you or outside you, and they're not all female. Dakas and Dakinis. Men tend to see them as the female polarity. Women tend to see them as the male polarity. The female polarity in Dakinis, the meaning of Dakinis is spaciousness. Dakas will be more likely to take you where you are needed, where you might be of assistance. They are the male symbol of Bodhisattva. They are symbols, but they also exist as a people in their own right. As practitioners, levels within levels of that word, which is why we don't call them fairies in English. My favorite ancient translation, this is way back in the old days, somebody came up with it trying to translate Vajra Dakinis. It came out as diamond fairies. I've always loved that one. I think that might even have been Keith or John. Someone now well known who has come up with much better translations for it. This is when we were all first just learning Tibetan. Back in the days. Always used to make me think of some big bearded guy in a tutu and a diamond tiara with a wand shedding glitter traipsing through the castra. But that's just my image for a diamond fairy. I digressed. Oops. Next question.
How detailed should our dream journaling be? Should we follow any order, forward, backward, random, does not matter?
As detailed as necessary for you to remember your dreams. This will vary for different people. There isn't a single answer for everyone. Pretty detailed. It is a focus of attention on the dream time. The stronger that focus of attention, the better this works.
Will Tumo, or working with the central channel, help with clarity in dream yoga?
Yes, a great deal. If you have the instructions in Tumo and you know how to do it safely and are working with that, Yes, as an auxiliary practice that goes with this, it will be excellent.
And somebody commenting that peanuts are also high in magnesium, which may help with sleep.
Mm-hmm. That may well be. I'm not sure why peanut butter works so well, but it seems to.
What do you do when physical tightness around the chest is related to disease, but also emotional stress, and has been interfering with this work with dream yoga?
Get a massage. If you can, safely in the time of COVID. If not, any of the many physical relaxation techniques that exist in this world, stretching, dancing, visualizing, that the disease should be under whatever treatment it's under. See your doctor for diseases. And your tendency to hold stress there is a problem. The most de-stressing practice that I can think of. 3. Trekcha done properly in a relaxed way. Shinrezig sadhana done properly in a relaxed way. Refuge done properly with the necessary faith and certainty that it allows you to feel safe and certain. None of these practices will really help for stress if you don't do them right, if you're tightening and grasping. They really do have to be done in a relaxed way. If you find that difficult, consider creating more gewa in your environment, in all your relations, as that will lead to relaxation naturally and is probably the easiest to do. Next.
I got spooked by my first try using the 9 breaths and invoking protectors, dreaming I was violently raped. So I haven't done it in this way since. I still do trekcha and remembering dreams. Do you have advice?
The fear of rape must be a big one for you to have had that reaction. Do it again and go back to that dream of violence and take refuge. If you can. If you cannot, you probably have a PTSD around either an experience in this life or past lives of being raped, which is really stuck in your channels. As you begin to clear out the channels, it activated, and so it arose in the dream. It is possible to complete a karma in the dream so that one need not live it again. Unfortunately, when there is a PTSD, one has a tendency to bring forth that experience again and again. So, a PTSD about rape will cause you to be in fear of being raped frequently. A PTSD about being robbed will cause you to be in fear of being robbed frequently. Although we have Tibetan methods that work with them, I personally think EMDR is a lot faster. And I have seen good success even working with Tibetan refugees with that method. You will need a qualified therapist, but it is something which can be done with phone or social distancing or Zoom as needed. Next.
When I do these practices for a bit, I seem to start doing them without much awareness. How do I do them in an awake way rather than them just being another thing I do asleep?
I'm trying to understand how that feels in order to answer the question. The practices of the daytime. Okay, are you referring to the daytime or the nighttime practices? The before going to bed practices, or the during the day practices? And wait until they come back with that and give me a different one.
Okay, just a moment. There's quite a few in the chat here.
Oh yeah.
I had one marked. I once played around with cities in a dream and heard an angry voice telling me not to do it. Haven't had much lucidity since then. Any advice?
You scared yourself. You feel that it is wrong to play around with cities in a dream. It's not. They come and go. You probably feel that it's wrong to play around with them in daily life. They come and go. Come and go cities are not uncommon. The real ones, ngoshe, that's different. But little come and go magics are everywhere. Magic pervades the universe. Magic. It's simply a part of the interconnectedness. Sometimes one can do things that are more remarkable than other times. It's a mood. It comes and goes. I think you may be taking karma and advice about what might be dangerous to do as wrong. It's not wrong to not look where you're going and fall in a hole. People do that sometimes. It's not wrong or bad or evil. It's probably not a good idea. You can sprain an ankle doing that. But it's not bad. It's just likely to cause you to do yourself a mischief. Work on separating your beliefs in goods and bads from your Dharma practice. Next.
When realizing a dream is a dream, I get excited and wake up. What can I do to prevent that?
That's just practice. When you realize you're dreaming, the first step, and that's a lot of what I wanted to talk about, is how to work with lucid dreams today. The first step is simply to see how long you can stay in the dream aware of that. You do that by completely going along with the situation in the dream. once you are able to be aware in the dream without getting all excited about it, once this has become ordinary for you, then we can begin working with the dream. But first you've got to get lucidity down to an ordinary occurrence. That's going to take time and practice. I'm teaching this to you much faster than it was taught to me. There's only 2 weeks between teachings instead of months or even years. Because that's how long it takes to actually get it working. People are impatient now. And some people are already at different levels, have already done some practices, so I'm teaching this faster than usual. But do not expect yourself to be going that fast. Slog away.
The person who asked about awareness in practices, he says here, regarding my question, all of the practices, but I'm talking about the stuff I do when awake. The problem is doing stuff automatically rather than with presence. This happens with many of my practices and they lose effect.
Yep. You need inspiration. What inspires you? Also, you need to use the tool of mindfulness. It's a tool. Mindfulness in Tibetan has to do with using your memory to bring your attention back where you want it, again and again. Not yanking it, not scolding yourself that it wandered off, but just, No. That's really your key, is the mindfulness. And find something that inspires you. Keep an altar. Keep a beautiful altar. That will often hold energy for you. The glow of the butter lamp, the fresh flowers, the torma. Fall in love with the sky if you are male or young, energized. Fall in love with form if you are yin energy. The dance of form is beautiful. It is of the nature of Bodhisattva. Sky space is the symbol of the infinite openness of awareness. Fall in love with these, or with a symbol of these, such as a dakini, a daka, an image of a dakini, an image of a daka. Find what will inspire you in your practice. I have certain books I grab. If I notice that I have lost inspiration and mindfulness has become more difficult, I'll sometimes grab the poetry of the Bon lineage and read a few of those for inspiration. Or any number of texts, some of the namtars, some of the stories. But find out what works for you to add inspiration. Next.
Oh, there was a good one. Hang on a moment. the question was working with imaginary friends, and how do we test the things we see with teeth?
If you will be working with off-plane beings, imaginary friends, and things with teeth, you better know how to say no. If in your daily life and someone calls you and asks you to volunteer for this and you have trouble saying no, and you find you get bushwhacked into doing things and attending places and other things that you really didn't wanna, because you couldn't actually bring yourself to say no, then you have no business talking to anything out there. How do you test them? Ask them to take refuge. You take refuge and see what happens. Invite them to take refuge with you. Generally, things with teeth will wander off, not being terribly interested in that.
Is it important to review our dream journal regularly, or is it simply recording the dreams the more important part?
Recording the dreams in most instances is the more important part. Occasionally, if you have a dream of clarity in which you receive teachings, reviewing that occasionally can be useful.
Can you give us detailed information concerning a routine for when waking up in the morning?
Wake up. Go sit. As you sit, take refuge. Arise, Bodhisattva. Relax into Trekcha. I left something out. If there were dreams when you wake up, sit up, pick up your dream journal or your stick or however you're working it, and speak your dreams. Once you have done that, then go sit. You don't have to recite refuge or arising Bodhisattva. Just do it. Make it work. Do it for real inside is enough. Reciting it is also good if that helps you to do it for real inside. You have not spoken casually yet. This is before looking at your iPad, your cell phone, or speaking to your partner. Having arisen Bodhisattva, after taking refuge, do the 9 breaths. Clear out your channels and rest in Trekcha for a time. When the time you have allotted to this in the morning is finished, do not abandon the Trekcha. Get up. Continue the Trekcha through the day. If you are working dream yoga, be aware that your practice of Trekcha is a dream. The you who practices is a dream. but continue to practice. Like that.
Do you have suggestions on how to clearly visualize the awe symbol? I have trouble holding the mental image clearly.
Remember the stick I talked about? Get yourself one of those sticks and print out the ah I gave you, the one in the rainbows, and stick it on the stick. Stick the bottom of the stick in a big coffee mug or a can or something full of grain so that it stands up. It should be at exactly the right height for you so that it is exactly at the level of the end of your nose straight out. Rest your gaze on the ah on the stick. Rest your mind on the ah on the stick. This will assist you in your visualization of ah.
What are the dreams that show what will happen? Every time I move to another country to live, that move happens spontaneously, but I have had a dream that indicates the move. Are these dreams of clarity?
Level 2 clarity. It happens for some people sometime because of the amount of gewa that they have created and spread. Is it useful to you? Next.
The person with the rape imagery had a follow-up question,
Yes.
and I'm looking for that. She says here, I don't think I have rape fear. I do have fear of invoking blessings and protection before sleep. That this is what brought about the dream. Do you have advice?
I take it the dream was unpleasant for you and not kinky. If that is the case, your taking refuge will not have brought about the dream. Possibly your opening up some of your channels may have caused a karma to manifest. If the dream was unpleasant, how are you not afraid of the unpleasantness? Or are you afraid of the fact that the dream was pleasant? I think maybe we better talk more on email about this. There may be things you don't want to put out here in public, even though I'm not saying a name.
It's taken me 35 plus years to get to the points you're describing. What practices specifically accelerate the process?
Gewa. Trekcha. Nundro. Certain Rushens. Virtually any practice. However, the most effective way to accelerate dream yoga is to practice dream yoga day in, day out, without forgetting about it for years at a time. Because how it takes so long is you get into it with great enthusiasm for a few months, and then something else comes up that's interesting, so you go do that instead. That's usually what slows it down. At least in my experience. And yeah, it took me about that long too. If not longer.
Interesting question about combining practices. It says here, I'm using a yoni egg and obsidian stone inside the vagina for healing. This yoni egg is used during the night and brings to the surface of consciousness my shadow of consciousness for work with old memories and old hurts. How can I combine this practice with dream yoga? I've been using the yoni egg practice for about a year now.
It is not a practice that I personally am familiar with, but I can talk about how to deal with old hurts. One of the ways when you are really dealing with a situation that has happened to you, and are you sure you want basalt for that? I would have thought jade. Basalt's awfully grounding. Not sure you want to ground that chakra that much. But anyway, just from what I know of working with stones, but you're following an instruction with someone who probably knows a lot more than I do about that practice, about which I know nothing at all. So, we often use Chenrezig's blessing across time to go back and bless who we were when the trauma occurred, so that it occurs and is perceived differently by us at the time, and the new memories arise. That can be very powerful. All of a sudden, you find a hidden memory that your fairy godmother or something came and blessed you after the bad thing happened, and it made you feel better, so you weren't hurt and angry. And you had forgotten that you had that dream the night after, and how much better it made you feel in remembering that you'd had that dream. Do you see? The past is not fixed, no more than the future. You can change the past, since all you have to go on of the past is your memories of how you felt, of how you now think you felt then. It's pretty flexible. So you can bless all those in the circumstance that occurred in past occurrences. And that's very powerful, and that's done with the Chenrezig sadhana, and sending those rays of light from the lotus out across time and space. And you can actually visualize those rays going out across time to a past very difficult situation and touching the heart of all those involved, and opening their hearts and softening and soothing the occurrence. This is doable. You can also go back in a dream and do it differently. More difficult. Certain experiences have an inertia of their own. You can also do the inner body Rushen and clean out that chakra, although you need to have certain skills in order to undertake that practice. Next.
We're having internet connection issues. Bear with me for a minute. Okay. Alright, let's hopefully that has not killed everything. Oh, the internet loves us so much.
Try the other router.
Yeah. Okay, so it's up. Let me just review comments to see a number of people having comments. Another question about, can you speak about practicing in a dream?
Yes. any practice you do in a dream is usually a lot stronger than around here. So, because of the flexibility of dream, if you practice the visualizations of your yidam sadhana, you can actually experience sensually that sadhana. And you can experience being your yidam and laughing, the laughter of the herokas, the herokais. Delightful. Try it. If you are working on, say, the speech Rushen, if you do that in a dream, you can actually see the destruction of the universe. Feel it incredibly strongly. If you are doing trekcha, and you do trekcha in a dream, it is incredibly profound. Whatever your practice is, the Chenrezig sadhana, done in a dream, Tonglen, done in a dream, it can actually happen. What is visualized comes to pass. The dreams are flexible. Also, you can become more flexible as you begin to work with dreams. Change things. Small things, fruit, cups, things that are similar and that the change will not change the story of the dream. Start there first. If in the story of the dream your coffee is in a silver cup, but where you can't see it, bring it back in a black cup. In the beginning, do not try. Actually, I have never had any good effect trying to change things while looking at them. I'm also lousy at just imagining myself someplace and going there. I have to walk there or fly there. Or take a purple crayon and draw a door and walk through it to get there. I have to make the story or it wakes me up. I have not heard tell of others not having their experiences this way. So you have to pull your changes into the story. When you change the color of your cup, you change the color that was removed from the shelf in the morning. You don't just change it in the moment. You change its past. Where this gets interesting, once you have successfully stayed asleep and not woken yourself up, and if you change too many things, you're going to wake up. You have to take it really slow and gentle. Lucidity is a level in dream. If you bounce up from it, you come to awakeness, you lose the dream. If you descend too far into the story, you lose the lucidity. So it's a real balancing act, and you just got to practice to get that balance. Once you have it, You can be Buddha. You can go to Vulture's Peak and hear the original teachings and understand the language. Someone wrote to me that they had a dream of speaking with Karmapa and other great teachers, but that it was very frustrating because they don't speak Tibetan. It is not necessary. You are taking your belief systems into your dream. Your belief that you don't speak Tibetan and that they don't speak English. This is yours. It's not real. It's a thought belief system. Once you are in dream time, your Homo sapien channel pattern does not have to retain all of that crap. If you do the blowing out your channels, the big yawn where you breathe in through the nose, stretch your channels out to infinity all the way and then relax. Just that can be incredibly profound. And from the dream time as you relax, it does not have to snap back into Homo sapien. Go listen to the beautiful poetry of the dolphins. Go practice the octopi tsalung, which is really different from ours because they don't have a vertebrae. No central channel. A central sphere. And 8 primary channels radiating from the central sphere, completely different for doing tsalung. Fascinating. A lot of this, I'm going to have to pick you up in the dream time and show you, or introduce you to others who can show you how to do that, how to not be Homo sapien, how to not be singular, how to be many. If you're doing Tonglen in daily life, that will assist you in finding out how to be many in the dream time. Not singular you, but the entire population of Earth, including the bugs, all of it. And expand from there. To be everything and everyone, everywhere, all Buddhas of the 4 times, and all beings of the 3 realms simultaneously. You can dream this, but all you can return with as a memory of it is the words describing that it happened. You cannot remember the feeling. Don't even try. I puked for about 6 hours when I tried to remember that. How it felt, the channel pattern of it. So when you come back, it's okay if all you remember is that it did happen, but not how it felt to happen, because a lot of things, once you return to Homo sapien form, don't fit. I remember the beauty of the sonar songs, which are somewhere between sound and visual. No, that's trying to describe it here. I cannot describe that sense here. I don't have that sense organ here. You can be infinitely different things in different places. You can expand your limits, and that's what this is good for. Those little belief systems that you're tripping on, at least now you're knowing where they are, like, you believe in language. You think you don't speak Tibetan. You think in the dream time the teachers can't speak English to you, the ones who normally don't do it in the daytime. You think they have those limits. See, those are where you're stuck. Dream time is for wiggling unstuck with this. Capiche? Start with something simple. Go slowly. Don't try to jump into the most profound things. You'll wake yourself up. Or you'll lose lucidity. You'll go up or you'll go down. You really got to practice maintaining the lucidity through the dream without losing the dream, and that takes time. Eventually, your dreams will become a coherent whole, as is your life. But you will not be able to remember all of that except in dream time. It's different. The next teaching has to be out there. I have to show you what you can do lucidly. Beside a lake, where there is a spring in a cave, which is a shrine to nature, to Mother Nature. It flows out from that spring in the cave. It's a big cave, filling a pond around the front of it and within it. You could swim into the cave. And then it goes into a stream and it fills a big lake. And there's a very old temple beside the lake. Meet me there. It's one of the places I go to often. Don't change anything there. We'll go somewhere else to play. Last time somebody messed with that place, it got all hard to use. There's another place. God, what is this place? It's at sunset. It's in the desert. It's a series of pillars and sandstone arches open to the sky. It is a known dreamtime meeting place for a number of species dream yogis. If you can get there and you don't find me, you'll certainly find some very interesting beings who can show you interesting things. In order to get to either of these places, you will have to learn to maintain your lucidity while changes occur. I get to both of these places by walking there. It's a special kind of walking in the dream where you walk through the dream changing as if you're stepping from reality to reality as you move your feet. Meet me in either of those places. Since neither of them exist at a particular point in time or space, we should be able to overlap there. I'll take you to listen to the sonar poetry of the great whales. and other things that you didn't know you could do. Learn the balance first of not either throwing yourself out of the dream because you got all excited and enthusiastic and started poking too many things, or dropping back into non-lucidity because you were paying or following the story too strongly. It's a really funny little place. Normally, in dreams, you cannot read. Not well. If you look at a text and you look away and you look back, it'll be slightly different. It'll say different things. If you ever encounter a text that doesn't change in dream time, that is probably a dream of clarity, and you're probably looking at a terma. And you may have found where they keep the termas, which is always fun. That doesn't mean you're supposed to bring them forth. Just because you find a terma doesn't mean you're supposed to share the terma. Just enjoy it. If you are supposed to share it, someone out of the blue will ask you for it. Never push your termas from your side. Work with them. They're for you. But bringing them out is another story. There has to be certain coincidences of serendipity for that to be done properly, so wait for those. I know at least some of you have found a few termas in there who have talked to me privately. Wait for the coordinated serendipity that shows that this is supposed to go here. Until then, it's for you. You use it. You do it. You let it help your practice. I'm going to do some questions now.
Okay. Is fear in newbies normal? I feel odd and unprepared, I think the person meant here, for the unknown. I have had many nightmares. Any advice?
Yeah. If the unknown is frightening for you, stay with the known for now. More work with refuge. Basic, ordinary nundro. Maybe extraordinary nundro. If you're afraid of the unknown, Dzogchen and Trekchö will be difficult for you. However, you can begin with the early stages of Mahamudra, which will lead there anyway. Work with the preliminaries, especially refuge, until you are not afraid anymore. They say that lion's milk can only be contained in a golden pot. It will shatter any other. That's a very Tibetan analogy. They say that when the lion roars in the jungle, all the wild animals cower in terror, except the lion cubs. They recognize the voice of their mother. These are the analogies. So, if you are feeling that this is all too new to you and you are frightened of the unknown, don't insist that you poke at it first. Find the safety of refuge. Learn to rely on it. Work with Chenrezig and Tara. until a certain amount of heart safety certainty in Dharma arises for you. Then walk forward into the unknown, because it's your mama. Next.
A number of questions featuring you in the dream time.
I get around.
Well, this one I'll wait till you finish drinking coffee. The night before the part 2 session, I dreamt you gave me a kiss and then kicked me in the nuts. Was this you?
Yep. Did it work?
Another question. I had a sleep paralysis incident a few nights ago. How can I work with this so it does not happen again?
I have it every morning. I don't know if this is a result of the amount of stuff I do in the dream time. I know I sleep more than most people in order to get my own personal sleep and whatever work I'm doing. But I also know that when I awaken in the morning, I can barely move. And it takes me quite a while before I can get into my hands and my toes. When I get up to pee at night, I am always in danger of falling over because I'm barely in the legs. I have been known to fall over. It's why when I travel, I insist on being somewhat near a bathroom. The people who put me upstairs and downstairs from the nearest bathroom, maybe I'll make it. Maybe you'll hear thump-a-thunk, thunk, thunk. So I don't know what to tell you about that. I find it to be a normal occurrence. And it wears off. You just, stretch bits. Try to get in. If this is in between dreams, it's because you're still got one foot in the dream time. There is a Western science, a brain chemical release to keep you from sleepwalking, which is really good. You need that. Otherwise, you get up and do all sorts of strange things like people do on that one kind of sleeping pill where they get up and drive places and do weird things. And so I don't really know how to counter it except patience. Or go back into the next dream. Or go back into the old dream if you didn't like it and it was a nightmare and change it. For as long as that particular hormone is running in your body, you're half in dream time. You can get back in real easy and continue whatever you were doing. You can get back into the same place you came out of. That's the best I can offer. I don't really have a solution to that one.
How do we know we are safe while doing these practices?
Why would you think you were safe? Dharma isn't safe. Did someone tell you it was? The Tibetans forget to tell you that Dharma isn't safe. Look, if you're in a burning building and you jump out the second floor window, it's not safe. But it is preferable to burning to death. Dharma's like that. No, it's not safe, so you're going to have to use common sense and not sabotage yourself or do anything stupid. That's a Tibetan goes without saying.
If one meets one's teacher in a lucid dream, are there standard things to do?
Prostrate. That's standard for a Tibetan. For a Westerner, tell them how totally delighted you are to see them and ask them for teachings. Next.
Is there something I have to think about or visualize to easier induce lucid dreaming? I often don't remember anything. I am better at dreaming strongly during my period or during the full moon.
Do you menstruate on the full moon? Many do. And great. So you want to cycle this practice to emphasize it during that week where you've got the best ability for it. And you may wish to emphasize other practices in the other 3 weeks. Nice to know where it's easy. Do it where it's easy. Next.
A couple of questions about the book in front of you on dream yoga.
Yes.
The one with the eyes. Which one is that? And
that's
are those eyes
Norbu Rinpoche's.
Okay. Are those eyes supposed to be Buddha, or is it just an illustration there?
That's an illustration.
Okay.
This is Norbu Rinpoche's. This is by Alan Wallace. And this one is by Tenzin Wangyal. I use them as references. And they're differently suitable for different people. Norbu Rinpoche's, some good stories and just the pith. Just enough to make it work, but not enough to make yourself crazy with the complexities of the practice. B. Alan Wallace. Set up excellently for Westerners. It is published by Shambhala, very well done, and entirely in a Western matrix. And this, Tenzin Wangyal's, very detailed, very complex, and pretty much entirely in a Tibetan matrix, although he does translate the analogies into something that will make more sense to a Westerner. Yeah, the lion's milk one. Not part of your culture. Everybody knows that you can't keep lion's milk in a clay pot, should you have successfully milked a lion, which is not easy.
There was also a question about the Bon poetry. And what recommendations do you have for people who'd like to see that or read more about it?
Contact the Bon teachers. Contact their sanghas. Contact their lineage. Get involved. Make offerings. They have gorgeous stuff. Oh. Some of the most beautiful pure Dzogchen, end stage Dzogchen that I've ever seen. Next.
What's the effect of marijuana and this kind of thing on lucidity and lucid dreaming?
I find that high CBD is helpful when I am having interference from leg cramps. Physically, I sometimes get leg cramps during the night, unknown reason. No, none of the doctors know either. And boy, have we tried some different things. So since Valium interferes, it works, but it interferes with dream time, CBD does not seem to either benefit or interfere. I haven't tried sativas for this. They make me too hungry. I end up just getting up in the middle of the night and snacking on things, which is not the point. So that's why they might not work for me. You'll have to do your own experiences, your own experiments. There is nothing in the texts that leads me to think it would be one way or the other. Now, there is a form of sage, Sativa divinatorium. It grows around here in the Bay Area. Anyone who can get me a plant, I really want to grow it in the garden. That burned as an incense at bedtime is said to be very helpful. What other power drugs?
Haven't people asked about mushrooms, I think, that came
Yeah, and I frankly haven't tried it. I don't know. Mushrooms, ayahuasca, wood, that's African. Datura, that just moves the dream time into the daytime, so you can't tell the difference. Shadok Shmiel, throat of the camel in North Africa. I can tell you that Datura is only helpful in breaking down some barriers and very dangerous to work with because of the overdose. An effective dose and an overdose are too close. And that it does cause you to be unable to tell the difference between dream time and wake time. And you can change the red cup to blue while you're awake, which is kind of an interesting experience, but also weird shit happens. I don't recommend it for this purpose. It's used ceremonially to other purposes in some lineages. I have not tried mixing dream yoga with any of the other traditionals, like peyote, acid, mushrooms. So I really can't answer.
Is someone suggesting mugwort?
It's more of a
Yeah.
respiratory. And yes, if you have any problem with breathing, like asthma, it's going to negatively affect your dreamtime work. So before bed, if mugwort tea, give it a try. I don't know. I have not done a lot of experimenting with different herbs with this. So I really, and nor have I found in any of these textual references to different herbs, except in one text somewhere else, not in one of these, a reference to the Sativa divinatorium.
I've had dreams where there are 2 or 3 of me and have discussed the dream story with myself inside the dream, sometimes changing endings. Is
Good.
this
You're
lucid
doing,
dreaming?
yes it is. You're doing really well. It may not be lucid at the time, but it is very excellent. You've already broken down the singular barrier, which is hard for many people. Oh, keep going. You're doing good. That's something I thought I would have to teach you how to do out there in dream time. But some of you manage it on your own. The practice that synergizes with that is Tonglen. Especially once you reach the stage that it's a herd of gnats that you're doing it with, or a flock of gulls.
There was an earlier question. When you break into multiple beings like this in the dream time, does that affect your chances of a human rebirth, of a rebirth as a singular being?
Only in such that it makes it not a requirement that you take rebirth singularly. Actually, what makes you think you usually take rebirth singly? You're an ecology, not an individual. Interactive, interpenetrating, interrelating as a clump with all the other clumps. What individual? If you have a yeast overgrowth and the sugar craving caused by the yeast causes you to steal a donut, Who gets the karma, you or the East? You don't all die at the same time, you and your microbes. They're dying all the time. Do you all incarnate together or separately? Your personality is vastly influenced by your biome. You are an ecology, not an entity. And you can't possibly all incarnate in the same entity together. You don't all die at the same time. Some of you stay around and eat the corpse. Next.
Let me find it, because it was a good question. Is it possible to receive Dzogchen transmission in a dream? There were a couple of questions about
Yes.
receiving Wang's or the lung transmission in a dream, but they've never had it in real life, like gone to before a teacher physically and had it.
If you got it in a dream, you got it. A lot of times, a particular archetype may emerge to you in the dream and give you their initiation. This is extremely auspicious. It would be good to cross your T's and dot your I's and at some point get it in waking too, for the synergistic effect of having it on both sides. But yes, you can read the book if you got the lung in the dream. Dzogchen transmission can be given in dream time. Often is. Remember, all Buddhas of the 4 times would like nothing better than to be all Buddhas of the 4 times, as they are. And since all Buddhas arise out of all sentient beings in the culmination of their path, they are motivated to enlighten all life. So you just ask them, they'd be delighted. Any Buddha.
We were speaking of sleep paralysis earlier, so I thought I would forward this question.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes stop breathing in my sleep and dream I cannot breathe, and I know I'm dreaming.
You need
and my
a CPAP.
mind is awake, and I cannot move my body. It takes a lot of effort.
Okay, you may be in danger physically. You need a CPAP machine. Go get yourself checked out. Get a sleep study. In fact, I believe there are some sleep study things that you can wear at home without exposing yourself in any way. I think you should look into this. People who stop breathing in their sleep to the point of it waking them up, they are either slightly overweight and have fallen onto their back, or their tongue has fallen back enough to occlude, or it's a CNS problem where the reflex that tells you to breathe is not strong enough. But both of these cases are physical, medical, and really should be checked out.
Is Vajrasattva practice possible through dream yoga? In which stage would this happen?
In any stage that you felt the need, and absolutely yes it is.
I do the practice of clear light from Norbu Rinpoche every night, but have a difficult time visualizing things and falling asleep. Any advice?
Noodle soup just before bed. Carb loading. Tukpa. Hot milk. Peanut butter. chamomile tea. And I am somewhat familiar with Norbu's clear light practice and would suggest that you hold it more loosely. That instead of perceiving clear light, you sort of settle into being made of clear light in a really safe and reassuring way. A softness, not to the light, but not a sharpness to the light. A transparency of all phenomena. And then, with your eyes closed, begin to see the pictures that are arising. Put your attention on the pictures. See them as made of clear light. Images, transparent in transparency. Slide in there. Now, usually your primary dream time does not happen in the first part of sleep. You go in through the door into dreams, and there's a little bit of dreaming there. And then you drop into theta. Now, you can rest in clear light in theta, which is lovely. Kind of like, in the bardo, that stage where you are absorbed into clear light. After the red and white came together, and the darkness as it dawns. Kind of like that. But later in the night is when active dreaming occurs. Some people, determining when their dream time is strongest, arrange to gently awaken enough to replace their practice, which may have been forgotten in theta, and go back into lucid dreaming. In certain Tibetan practices, you wake every 2 hours and change the visualization. We're not going there today.
Could you discuss being too attached to an experience? Past lives, CDs, stuff like that. What negative things could happen to the student if they do this?
Oh, the local, what do you call it? Place where they put people who can't manage, asylum, is full of Jesuses and Mother Marys. That's a danger. You can justify your existence by dreamscaping, going into imaginary fantasies of being important throughout time. Oh God, I've known people to do this. They're an incarnation of the snake god, and then they're doing something with this, and they have to fulfill this thing in this life, and then they have to find their soulmate, so that you can make the most elaborate edifices out of some slight past life experience of having been a snake last time. And then, see, when people do this, they're looking for some importance. Something to say, I am an important person. I'm not like all the gray folk who hustle around here. I'm something, somebody. That's how you get attached to an experience. It justifies your importance. You will have to get over your desire for that eventually. And it's hard. But what am I for? So until such time as you're comfortable putting that down, be a hero. Be a bodhisattva. Let that fill that need. Because that need is there in all people. Next.
A quick question about the Buddhas of the 4 times. Someone needed to know what are the 4 times that you're referring to?
Past, present, future, and imaginary. Past, present, future, and the 4th time is beyond time, outside of space. Unfathomable.
How is the devotion to my guru related to dream yoga? Guru yoga and dream yoga, how do those relate?
It should inspire you to go see your guru in the dream time, to interact. Devotion allows you to open your heart to the teachings. Without the necessary devotion, you won't let it in. Not really. You'll take it apart. You'll judge. You'll judge it according to your belief systems. And you're trying to get loose from those. So when you judge a teaching according to your belief systems, it's not going to help you get out of those belief systems. So the antidote to that is devotion. That was a simplification.
Any comments about Carlos Castaneda? Somebody asked if you were familiar with Carlos Castaneda.
I am quite familiar. I've enjoyed his books. Great, talented writer. He told the stories so well, playing the fool. A wonderful writer, very inspiring to many of us.
I usually remember my dreams, but I rarely have lucid dreams. What can I do to become more lucid?
The daytime practices. The most effective, most powerful one of those is the walking around all day, experiencing the day as a dream. If you do that well, it will flow over into the dream time.
If you receive teachings on Nagas and then dream of Nagas, is that significant?
Teachings went in, perhaps. You are interested in the subject. It may or may not be significant.
You mentioned Bodhisattva. Is the dream time a place to be effective as one too?
Yes. Decide in the dream time that you wish to be of use to sentient beings and walk through your dream committing gewa. How many more do we have here?
Of the questions, not that many. There's a number of interpretation questions where we would rather encourage people to email you directly, I think.
Yeah, let me go with the more general questions. I can't interpret your dreams as well as you can. You can try me, but you may get I don't know.
I would ask a couple of questions related to, well, I dreamed of you, Lama Lena, or some other teacher. Does that mean that that is my guru?
No.
If you could talk a bit about that.
It does not necessarily mean that. It will depend on what happened in the dream. Now, I met my teacher in dream time before I met him in life. Have I told you that story? Perhaps not. I had gone to many teachers, sort of with, "Are you my mama? Are you my mama? Are you my mama?" And they all said, "No, get out of here, kid. You're not mine. You're not mine. Go away." As many teachers as I could find. I'd gone to Lama Yeshe, who was my teacher, and said, "Are you my teacher? Are you my root guru?" And he said, "No, dear, I'm not. I'm your babysitter. I'm not your mama. You'll find your teacher. It's not me. But I'll look after you until such time as you're ready for that." Anyway, I'd been with him. I'd done a Nundro. I'd done this. I'd done that. Done many things. Practiced. Some of them worked. Some of them didn't work. Never did get Tara to work in those days. Eventually traced the memory that had the block and dealt with that. But good results with Manjushri retreat and with Nundro and Vajrasattva. Big change with the Bodhisattva vows. But still, he wouldn't tell me about Shunyata because he wasn't my root guru. So finally, after I finished Nundro and then went and asked everybody, and everybody said no. I asked Kanto Rinpoche, I asked Sidhu Rinpoche, I asked Karmapa, I asked Yeshe Dorji, I asked, Jesus, everybody, all over the place. Every Lama I could find that spoke any English. I didn't speak Tibetan very well then. I mean, hardly at all. I could say Tashi Dili and Chang. So I finally, in frustration, said, "Okay, this is not working. Nothing I'm doing is working." And I sat down in the forest under a tree, and I stuck my purba in the ground. And I said, "I'm not leaving here until my teacher turns up. Live or die, not leaving." I had some food with me, some water. Eventually I'd eaten it, drunk it. I still sat there. I must have been beginning to look a bit the worse for wear when someone I had once asked to be a teacher some years back before she went into a long retreat, and she'd said no, came out of retreat and walked past the tree. I'm like, "Are you my teacher?" "No, I'm still not your teacher. What are you doing under this tree? You look somewhat worse for wear." So I explained what I was doing, and she said, "You're an idiot. You're just going to die." I said, "Okay, but I'm going to die face forward. I need a teacher. I can't go any further without a teacher." She said, "Look, I'll make you a deal. I need to go visit my teacher. My teacher is far from here, and I've been ill, and I can't manage to carry my own luggage. How about I take you with me? You've never met my teacher. You've never asked him. Let's see. And I promise if it doesn't work, I'll put you back under this tree, just the way I found you. But I need you for a week, and you're not serving anyone else here. You're doing nothing bodhisattvic, and I need a bodhisattva, so get up off your ass and come with me." Well, it all made sense what she said, so I decided to serve her for the 10 days or 2 weeks while she recovered and carry her luggage and be her shapja, and see if I met some more lamas to ask if they were my teacher, and if none of it worked, I'd go back under the tree. So we went to Manali. This was in the forest way up above Dharamsala, where there's like wild forest, or was in those days. I'm sure it's been built up by now. And we went to Manali, where I met many teachers, and I asked each one, and each one said, "No, you're not mine. Go away. Get out of here, kid. No, I'm not going to teach you. No, I won't tell you what shunyata means." Yada, yada. Until the time was done, and I realized that it hadn't worked, and I would be going back under my tree, and this time it would be for permanent. And so we got on the bus from Manali to go and change buses in Mandi to get the bus to Dharamsala, carrying her luggage, although she was by then much stronger. And we missed the bus in Mandi, just missed it. Somehow our bus got a flat tire or something happened, a tree in the road. But we just missed the bus for Dharamsala, and we're going to have to wait till the next day. So we're stuck in Mandi. And behind the bus stand was this sleazy little tourist bungalow. We didn't have any money, we were kids. So we get the cheapest room, which is down in the basement, smells of mold. It's got 2 beds, a little window, full of mosquitoes. I think it might even have been on for monsoon time. And spent the night. And during the night I dreamed. And I dreamed that I was walking along a path around a mountain where all the rocks were covered with mantra carved in them. And there were wildflowers everywhere. And I went down through a gap between rocks, a path that went between rocks. It was steep, as if it was a womb, a uterus, at this triangular sort of hole. And I went through there and around, and I came to this big cave. Big cave. And I went in, and in the middle of the cave was a meditation box. And in the meditation box was a tall, skinny yogi with great masses of matted hair and black square glasses askew. Black square plastic glasses askew and eyes like Guru Rinpoche. And since in the dream language is not an issue, I said to him, "Can you show me the way? Can you show me the way to bring my mind through to full enlightenment? Can you teach me that?" He said, "Yes, I could. I can do that." And then I woke up. And I woke up, Jompa, 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 wake up. I just had this dream, and I described the whole dream. And she said, "Well, I've never heard of seen a place like that. But I recognized the teacher." And then I woke up again. And I recognized the teacher, I can take you there. And then I woke up again and realized that that had also been a dream. "Jompa, Jompa, wake up." You know, what do you want? I had this dream, and I tell her the dream, and this time she says, "Well, I don't know of any Lama that looks like that. But I recognize the place that you're describing, and I can take you there. It's not far from here. Go back to sleep. I'll take you in the morning." So obviously I didn't go back to sleep that night. And the next morning we got a little bus, a little broken down bus that went for an hour and a half, where the road ended. Wasn't much of a road, it was a track. And we got off the bus and we started walking, and we walked for a couple of hours up a mountain, and we walked around down through this cleft, and we got up the mountain and all the rocks were carved with mantra, and the wildflowers just like in the dream. The place was exactly that. And we went down through this triangular cleft and around and over to this big cave, and in the cave, sitting in a meditation box, was a short, round monk with square plastic black glasses, cattywampus, and eyes like Guru Rinpoche. I didn't speak any Tibetan, neither did Jompa. But we did a lot of smiling back and forth and broken Hindi, namaste. And then, so I couldn't talk to him. I couldn't ask him like I had in the dream, but I'd already asked him. So after that I said to Jompa, "Okay, I'm staying. This is as far as I go. If you need, I'll walk you back down to town and get you on the bus." And she said yes, because carry the bag. So I did. and got her on the bus for Mandy, and she went back to Dharamsala. And I went back up the mountain and found a rock that's overhung like this and piled some rocks like a little cave around it and moved in. And I stayed. And the other yogis on the mountain, there was about a dozen of us up there, began to teach me Tibetan by pointing at things and saying the word and just talking at me like a little kid learns. And at one point, Rinpoche, the teacher, I couldn't really talk to him yet, noticed that I was under a rock, and I guess it was getting cold and maybe even raining. And I was not in a very good situation there, and so he showed me another empty cave that he had used at one point that I could stay in, and it was much better. I built a fireplace, and I stayed there. Anyway, I was there for the next 8 years. Learned the language, translated for Rinpoche, got teachings. When I first could speak a little Tibetan, I went to him and said, I want some teachings. Will you teach me? And he said, do a nundro. And I'm like, I already did my nundro. And he looked me up and down. And he said, oh, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but it didn't work. Do it again. So my first year, while I was learning the language, I spent working on nundro again. But this time I paid attention. This time I did nundro to be doing nundro rather than to have done nundro. And that makes all the difference. So yes, sometimes it does mean it's your teacher. But it really depends on the context. It might just mean it's among your teachers. I've seen other teachers in dreams and had teachings and blessings. Any more questions? We're getting towards the end here.
There's this one. What's the difference between people, things in my lucid dream and the people and things in my waking life?
Most of the people and things in most dreams are you. You just don't know it. The people in waking life are also you in the context of big you, not little you. So the people and things in the dream are in the context of little you. And the people and things in waking life are in the context of big you, big mind, little mind. Sem and Sem-yi. In waking life, we're all in this together. And what is this? Samsara and nirvana. All living beings and all Buddhas of the 4 times. Just a difference of perspective. There really isn't as much difference between dream time and awake time as you think there is. Because even in awake time, the people you experience, your experience of them, the things you experience, your experience of those things, all of this arises in your own mind and dissolves in your own mind and has never been anywhere other than your own mind. And the same may be said for awake time. If you dream you are a butterfly looking at a man looking at a butterfly, And the butterfly is afraid of the man. But the man is not feeling fear. And you're in both of these. The fear of the butterfly as an individual is very real. The attraction the man feels wanting to touch the butterfly as a man is very real. As real as anything else. Separate individuals and yet the same individual. This may be considered to be true on some level when you're awake as well. But you can take certain liberties in dreams that you cannot take when awake, such as flying, changing things, and going to places without buying a ticket. Any more in there? And we are good for today. I think in some time we'll do another one on dream yoga and see where you're getting to, how you're doing. So practice well. And we'll see what we do in future. You have enough to work with. Now you got to come find me so I can show you the rest, because you can't do it from this side. You can't even describe it. I can't tell you how to make a sonar sense organ from here, but I can show you there. How to turn into a seal, a silky, and swim the waters. That's one of the easiest, because the pattern is so much there already. But it's a small jump from there to being a dolphin or a whale and listening to the poetry. Practice. Awake and asleep practice. You sleep for at least a third of your entire life. There is so much more you could do with that, so much more fun you could have with that, so much more amazing experiences you could experience with that, so much for more useful practice you could do with that. Chi chi sala go pashu. We are complete for today.